Hello, this is Anthony Wisdom for Mobile Development Frameworks 2, Week 2 Project Screencast. Um, what I did for my project basically was exactly what the assignment said. Load the Twitter data, have a detailed view with a close button that pulls over the username and the picture. It loaded in all of them. So that was basically what I did for the project. As far as my code, of course, we had to pull in the accounts and social frameworks. So those are imported. For my main view controller, I have an array and then my outlet for my collection view. Here we go, initializing the array, refreshing the data coming back from Twitter. Doing those in the view did load right out the gate. And then here we're pulling in Twitter data for friends. So this is basically the same code from last week, although I did kind of run into an issue having to create an extra dictionary call, which is right here, and that's just going in there and pulling out the user's data, because there's this API Twitter friends list is a little bit different than the one we used last week. It has the user data nested in there, so we had to add that to the call, or to the code, excuse me. And then here we go again, adding to the array that I set here, and adding as it loops through each of the different users and pulls out the data. Then we refresh the collection view just so that is added to the Twitter friends array every time it goes through. And then next, because this is a if statement here, checking for URL responses errors, URL response errors. So if it is able to get the proper error code, which is 200, and there's no errors coming back here, then it will run this code. Well, if it doesn't, then that means we're probably not connected to the internet, and it pops up this message here as a user alert view. And then if the user denies access, here's a message that lets you know that this application, you have to have Twitter access. And then that alert closes, and then we dismiss our Twitter loading alert, which is right here, which starts right as the data is starting to be pulled, and then once it's done, it closes it here. Now this is, I have a post init with post info method written on my custom objects that initializes the info. In this case, it's the user string in the image. So here we go. We pull those out of the dictionary and set them to a string. And for this is me pulling the image URL off of Twitter and then turning that into the UI image and putting those there. So every time it runs through the loop and it finds that data, it will set that data to my custom object. And then here we go. That's setting the number of cells, which in this case is 20 because that's how much we're pulling back from Twitter. And then here's my two methods for, well, that's one, and then here's my other method for the collection view, which is setting the cell for item at index path. And here's my DQ reusable cell with identifier, so it's just reusing the cell. And then here we're setting the data from here, our custom object, into a method on our custom cell that accepts a string and an image, and that allows it to pull up and place each one into different cells. And here's my prepare for segue going to my details view that allows for the bigger image and the screen name to be pulled over. So for the most part, that pretty much was it. Here's my custom object with two properties and a method that sets those properties to whatever information we pull in, and then just initializing with the super init and making sure that this user screen name string and image that we have set up here is the same as in this custom method where we initialize this object with the data. In my custom cell, same thing, I have two properties that I set into a method. And here we have the method, and then we set the different UI elements to their respective data. And then here's my view controller for my details view, which is pretty straightforward. Things I could have did better. I wish that I had the time to make it to where the images weren't so distorted. I guess was I don't know. I would want a higher quality image, which I figured. I know if you it's in the URL. See if I can find that. It's in the URL here at the end of the string that you're pulling in. It has normal, large, and I just figured I could somehow, come up with a mutable string and manipulate it to where it's replacing the word normal with large. But I just didn't have the time for that. But other than that, fairly straightforward project. This has been Anthony Wisdom for Mobile Development Frameworks, Week 2.